Cup Check. The time has finally come for Cup Check, where I take a look at the 2025 Stanley Cup Final. Now, you might have noticed I haven't played any games yet, so we're going to do a preview. Who is going to win this rematch between the Florida Panthers and the Edmonton Oilers? Now, here's the number one thing I'm wrestling with is moving off of the team that won the last time these two teams played. Because in the first round, I thought, you know what? I think the Lightning win this one. They very didn't. In the first round, I thought, you know what? I think the Kings win this one. They very didn't. And from then on, I kind of learned my lesson to just default to the team that won last time. Is that what I should do here? It's tricky because the 2024 Stanley Cup Final was essentially 3 series. The first 3 games where the Oilers didn't look like they had a chance. Games 4, 5, and 6 where it didn't look like the Panthers had an answer for the Oilers at all. And then there's Game 7 where, if you look at the rest of the series, might have been the most normal hockey game of the bunch. And also the most even, and the Panthers came out on top. Now, this is going to be a little ironic on account of what I said about rematches, but I don't think you should take last year's series into too much account. I just think both these teams are way different. I mean, geez, take the Florida Panthers, for example. You're coming back with all of the most important bits, basically the exact same top 6. Completely different fourth line, though, and your third line has the same twins that drove everybody nuts last year in Anton Lundell and Eetu Luostarinen, but you're replacing Vladimir Tarasenko with Brad Marchand. Marchand? Marchand. Now, Tarasenko was an awesome Panther. He was obviously good enough to win the Stanley Cup. Brad Marchand has hit a gear I didn't know was still left. Most of the season, he was fine. You know, like, I'd say below his standard. I'd say reasonable to assume as he's getting older. And there he was in the Four Nation face-off as kind of a depth guy, foreshadowing. Starts his tenure with the Panthers injured. The playoffs arrive and it's same old Brad Marchand. Like the Oilers, the Panthers had some losses on the back end. Brandon Montour was a notable one. They go and they replace him with Seth Jones. You could honestly argue the Panthers are a better and deeper team than last year. Then there's the Oilers. Ooh, interesting. A lot of losses, a lot of them depth losses. Holloway, Broberg, 2 most notable. McLeod, Fogle. Who are they replaced with? Arvidsson, Jeff Skinner, Kasperi Kapanen has been a very interesting one that we'll talk about. Victor Arvidsson, Vasily Podkolzin. I think the most impressive thing about the Oilers in this playoff run to me is they've done it almost entirely without Matthias Ekholm. And now they've got him back. And you add to that the addition of Jake Wollman, which was a very needed addition at the deadline. Everyone has elevated, which you could say about the Panthers. It's weird that good teams that make it deep in the Stanley Cup playoffs tend to get better when the playoffs arrive. So what do we got? The Edmonton Oilers production has been top heavy. They own 4 of the top 6 scoring spots in the league. McDavid and Draisaitl are 1 and 2, act surprised. Then it's Mikko Rantanen at 3rd. Ryan Nugent-Hopkins, who had a disappointing regular season and has just been killing it since, at 4th. Alexander Barkov, the captain of the Florida Panthers, at number 5. Evan Bouchard, speaking of elevating your game, at 6. Here's where I could potentially see a problem. Sam Bennett is 8th. Matthew Tkachuk, despite whatever he's playing through, is 10th. Carter Verhaeghe is 13th. Brad Marchand is 14th. Sam Reinhart is 16th. Eetu Luostarinen is 17th. What's a Leaf doing in there? Anton Lundell is 21st. And we finally get to our next Oiler, Evander Kane. Oh, and look, it's another Oiler. It's Zach Hyman, who is done for the season and led the whole playoffs in hits. It's funny. I think both teams you could look at and say they are getting far better performances outside of their top stars than they have in years past. The difference is for the Panthers, it's showing up on the score sheet. With the Oilers, you kind of got to watch. Podkolzin and Kapanen in particular, I'm so impressed by like the mucking and grinding and digging role that they've assumed. Their defense is so shockingly solid. Shockingly, you've seen them in the regular season. Come on. And Stuart Skinner, hilariously, right back to being last year's playoff Stuart Skinner. Sorry, I realize that doesn't help. The good one. But I just want to give you an idea of why I keep bringing up Kasperi Kapanen, because there's a big hole left by Zach Hyman not being in this lineup. lineup. Again, he was hitting everything that moved. Kasperi Kapanen did not begin these playoffs with the Oilers in their lineup. He has a series-winning goal and 34 hits. Steve, 34 hits isn't that much. Oh, I should mention, in 7 games, the man's nearly getting 3 shots a night and 5 hits a night. This is a guy who I didn't think would be in the NHL anymore. But he's adopted this bang and crash role that I begged him. I wanted badly for him to adopt this half a decade ago with the Leafs. Maybe he was too young. Maybe he was too early in his journey. Whatever. It's here now, and he's so effective. Corey Perry having 7 goals as a 40-year-old is genuinely hilarious, and he's been such an important part of the Oilers' power play, which you can tell take up 4 of the top 6 scoring spots in the league. Special teams is so crucial in this series, and it's going to be interesting because by the end of the series, we all know it's going to dry up. By games 5, 6, and 7, you'll be lucky to get 2 opportunities a game. Then there's the Panthers, and more along the theme of what we don't know. Panthers fans weren't happy when I suggested that some of their players don't look right in the Leaf series. I stand by all of it. I mean, Matthew Tkachuk, that shouldn't even be controversial. Like, he missed months of the season after the Four Nation faceoff, where he was playing hurt during the tournament. But he's done so much with not a lot. Like, he's throwing up all these points, a lot of them standing stock still. Like, it's incredible how effective he's been, despite how limited he's been. It reminds me of Draisaitl a few years ago, honestly, when he was hurt and still throwing up 3-4 points a game. Barkov, I thought, might have been battling something. If he was, it's gone. He's an unbelievable player and somehow, some way, still underrated. I talked about Stuart Skinner returning to form. Sergei Bobrovsky, same brilliance as always. Gus Forsling, I thought, stepped it up against the Hurricanes, a team he probably has an axe to grind with, but I'm still not totally convinced. That's not the same player we watched last year. That might be the biggest downgrade. It's difficult to tell. And I'm not saying that because he's awful this year. Gus Forsling was brilliant last year. In last year's playoffs, last year's Cup Final, Gus Forsling, got Conn Smythe votes from everybody. But now he's got Seth Jones to rely on. They're so deep. Verhaeghe, sort of along the same lines as Ryan Nugent-Hopkins, where, okay, he was disappointing. He's right back. Here's a question I got. Who gets matched to who? If you've been watching my stuff for a while, you already know who I'm about to bring up. I'm in love with this person. Anton Lundell is just baby Barkov. This is what I'll be curious about because Florida, unlike last year, does not have home ice advantage. Now, we already know that doesn't matter to them. In fact, this is the first ever Stanley Cup Final featuring 2 teams who haven't had home ice advantage at all in these playoffs. This is the first time for the Oilers they're having home ice advantage all playoffs. It's wild. But I'm very curious who gets the McDavid matchup if Paul Maurice has a say, and who gets the McDavid matchup if Chris Knobloch has a say. Who gets Leon Draisaitl? Even I'm kind of struggling. Like, I don't know. If I'm Paul Maurice, I probably get the Bennett line to bash up against the Henrique line, knowing Evander Kane is probably going to try to stir stuff up. But that's if Evander Kane is on the Henrique line, because he's been elevated at certain points because he's been so good. I probably start Barkov on McDavid and see how it goes, sort of like in the Leafs-Panthers series. And if it goes south, like it did in the Leafs-Panthers series, you throw Lundell at him and let Barkov wreak havoc throughout the rest of the Oilers lineup. Maybe that's the better place to start. Maybe you just immediately go Lundell on McDavid, which is it's wild to think when you have Barkov as an option. And if you're confused by what I'm saying, I encourage you, watch Lundell extra closely this Cup Final. This is a special two-way player, man, with his twin brother, Eetu Luostarinen, who's not his brother, but he could be. So, who gets what matchup? Who does Sam Bennett try to injure in the first 2 games? And who do you think will be the 2025 Stanley Cup champions? Here's how I look at it, and I know it's not fair. With the Oilers humming against the Dallas Stars, I was thinking Oilers. Then Zach Hyman got hurt and is out for the rest of the season. My number one conspiracy theory is if there's an elimination game, Zach Hyman will play. I have no evidence to back that up. It's just something I want to see. But, we're going to have to assume he's out for the season. With Zach Hyman out, he was so important. And the fact that the Panthers are the reigning champions and beat the Oilers last year, I'm going to go with the Panthers in 7 until the Oilers prove otherwise. Neither of these teams has played a team this good in this playoff run. I mean, 2 straight years in the Stanley Cup Final for both of them. Good result. We can be pretty confident these are the 2 best teams in the NHL right now. I'm going to say it's a repeat for the champs in 7, but honestly, nothing would shock me, especially after last year's 3-headed series. So, what do you think? Let me know in the comment box down below, but for now, that is it for this one. Thank you very much for watching. Click like if you like this video. Click subscribe if you really liked it. Tell all your friends. Watch Cup Check after each and every Stanley Cup playoff game right here on my YouTube channel.